Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Of course, back here with Fred from Blackhawk. I want to introduce, what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing weekly videos, could be talking about the company, the industries, of course, Fred and Fred's background. There's going to be other people coming on and all sorts of different stuff. I know Blackhawk's involved in a few different things, so we'll be doing, of course, a deeper dive into the different sections and sectors that they look at, different companies, products, you name it, but also invite anyone who's watching these videos. We love to cover questions, whether it's personal, business, industry, investing, anything, drop it below. And if I can't get you an answer, we'll make sure to try and get you one in the comments. So Fred, first things first, Happy New Year. And, welcome to the videos. How are you?
I'm good, Jason. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Cool. Well, here, the first one, we're going to keep it easy, little intro, go over your background and walk through kind of how you get involved with Blackhawk. But I want to start, maybe even if it start from school, what you took, first couple of jobs, and we'll walk through, some of those success stories or just stories until we get to Blackhawk.
Yeah. I mean, school was a big one for me. It's kind of taught me that I needed to go out and get my own really, really young. I started a computer company when I was 14. So this is 1995. And it was called Bite Me Inc., Byteme. I thought I was clever. It started off kind of slow, just my parents' friends and friends' parents. But quickly, it turned into something big, and we started doing full networks, law offices. It was really my first entry into entrepreneurship, and got through high school. Bought my first car when I was 15, before I even had my license, and all earned from building computers in my parents' basement. So that was, probably the best part of my education.
Hey, how are you? I'm looking 14 years old. You were that clever, bite me, kilobyte, obviously all those types of things. That's hilarious. Congratulations. So
yeah, it's, kind of like an old soul. I don't think I'm actually an old soul, but my brother's 11 years older than me. So as like an infant, I grew up with like Commodore 64s and Amigas and like all this, God. Really entry to computing before anybody had really even thought about using a personal computer. So it came kind of naturally. It was something that I was passionate about, and I was like, hey, I like this, I can do it. Let's try and make money at it. And it's snowballed from there.
All right, so walk me through. You have a car you can't drive because you don't have your license, and what happened? So what happened to this company? First of all, I guess I'm gonna ask your 14-year-old dream. Now you're setting up all the computers and law offices and stuff, and then what happens?
Yeah, well, I mean, it started to work. The economics were really good. Then obviously, getting into high school, things weren't so easy time-wise. Homework, real education had to come into play. So it fell by the wayside. Competition got pretty heavy. So moved on to a few things. At that time, my father wasn't doing so well. So I actually went and took the reins of the family business for a few years until we sold that. And then I started getting into the world of finance.
Sorry for you, no.
Yeah, well, when you're young and you have a lot of capital, a lot of people try and spend it. Personally, I decided to lend it. I don't know if this is a positive or a negative, but given the subprime era between 2003 and 2007, made quite a bit of money lending on vehicles, installing GPS devices, sort of inventory management, and things kind of skyrocketed from there. Leveraged that into real estate, ran a REIT, and it's no surprise 2008, 2009 was a rough year for real estate. Divested of a lot of assets, and then decided I'd worked pretty hard and it was time to take a little rest. Dabbled in a few other entrepreneurial fields that really weren't in my pocket, I guess. And then cannabis really started to I guess you could call it genesis, when the Vancouver dispensaries started opening up.
Yep.
Personally, cannabis had always been something that I was, didn't want to martyr myself on it, but I believed in it. And when I saw the opportunity and the future of legalization, that's when we came through with Green Room, opened up our first location in Vancouver. We built it up to, I believe it was 15 locations pre-legalization. We opened up in any legalized place we could municipally. And then in anticipation of federal legalization, we started tying up real estate assets in non-legalized municipalities in Canada. So Edmonton, Calgary, Toronto, we opened up information centers. We also helped initiate the information center bylaw in Calgary, which gave us the proper variances for distance, much like what you see today, distances from schools, liquor stores. It allowed us to get the municipal stamp on these properties before everybody else. So we really were a first mover in both legalized retail sales and education of cannabis. And it showcased what cannabis, at least from our point of view, could and should look like in these cities. So that being said, during the whole mania, there was quite a bit of M&A going on, and we sold out for 8 figures, kept a few assets ourselves. 2 of those assets ended up in Blackhawk, and that's when I was asked to take the reins.
Yeah. Okay. Whoa.
Too fast? I don't know.
You killed it. Holy smokes. People listen to this. So, I mean, entrepreneurship in your blood from 14, clearly, all the way through, and, starting up a bunch of different businesses. It seems pretty successful. That's great. And so these assets end up in Blackhawk. And tell me, I have to ask, they reach out, hey, we'd love for you to come in here. Like, how did you come on board? What was that process like? The little 30 seconds on that would be pretty interesting.
Well, it's crazy how effectively a guy that built himself up from his bootstraps ends up in a public market CEO position. It's really the story with anything else. When before we got acquired, we were shopping for a shell, and we were trying to actually take Green Room public on its own. The executives of those boards really didn't want us or anything that we had to offer. They had their own plans. So we had to make a decision: are we going to continue to run this thing, or are we just going to sell it off? And Blackhawk, wasn't in a position to do it the way that we wanted to, but spoke with the team. It seemed like a great fit on a personal level. It just wasn't on a structural level for Blackhawk at the time. And when we did vend out, we did keep a few assets to ourselves. When they came back to Blackhawk and said, hey, I still have these 2 assets, I'd like to try and see if we can build something on this. Little did I know what I just started. So, it was effectively to be a vehicle for our RTO. We weighed the pros and cons, and of course, Blackhawk's available capital to execute on these locations wasn't there at the time. And it would have been, me bootstrapping it in front of all of our shareholders, essentially. So it didn't work out that way, but I'm glad we were able to at least get the 2 assets in here and spawn this awesome company that we got going on now.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you for the story. Congratulations on what feels like a crazy roller coaster. That's awesome. And, obviously to introduce yourself, you are the CEO, and I've already seen questions, I need to ask, walk people through, what does your day-to-day look like at Blackhawk? And I want to say, of course, we're going to do a deep dive into the company and what you guys have, but, just to give people the cap off, what's your day-to-day, week-to-week look like as a CEO of Blackhawk?
Yeah, well, pre-COVID, it looked a lot different than it does today. Usually I'm up at 5 a.m, check my emails, the typical stuff, get yelled at a little bit, get praised a little bit, off to check on our initiatives. So usually head to the New Wave facility. We're opening up a psychedelic clinic in downtown Edmonton as well. So fortunately, I've been home. I'm able to actually go and put boots on the ground, see progress, see what we're working on. So there's renovations there. My email load, texts, phone calls are crazy these days. So a lot of it really, my phone dictates my life. I don't have much choice in what I do every day. I have scheduled calls, scheduled interviews, and I follow that to a T.
No, that's good. And hey, I mean, obviously, finding the right people, you guys are balancing a ton of different stuff, and that's why there'll be some exciting videos coming because you guys have a lot on the plate, which is nice. You already mentioned the psychedelic clinic as well as some other stuff, just to give people a little bit of teasers. But hey, that's awesome. Typical CEO stuff. Get yelled at by shareholders, get praised by shareholders, keep pushing forward, give some insight, some strategy, talk to other managers, make sure things are happening towards your vision. Pretty standard stuff, which is great. But hey, I think this was an awesome little intro video. It's actually a lot more interesting than even I expected. So again, awesome. I appreciate it. I look forward to kind of doing some future ones coming soon. Is there anything about your background that you think we missed that you think, you'd like to share or people would laugh at or whatever you want to say?
Oh man, there's a lot to laugh at. There's a lot to share. It's been an interesting journey. If I would have asked 10-year-old me, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's actually not far from what I became. I always was interested in entrepreneurship. I always coveted that freedom, which I thought was freedom, but it's actually, something that you have to work really, really hard to achieve. Somehow I'm managing to live up to that. So I'm grateful. I'm really happy where I'm at today.
Oh, it's awesome. Good way to end it. You mentioned some teasers. Again, I do expect we're going to do a little Q1 plans, hopes, goals, dreams, you name it. We'll of course do a deeper dive into Blackhawk. And again, I encourage people with questions to make sure you drop them below. Hey, Fred sounds like he's got a crazy background. He got entrepreneurship questions. Sounds like he's the guy. So make sure you fire them our way. We can maybe do some little segments there, some insights, things to be careful of, and maybe some funny stories as we go. But Fred, thanks so much for joining. This was a great first video.
Thanks, Jason.